Hi, welcome to Rate the Dream, Life, Love, and Mortgages. I am your host, Melissa Landon, and this is episode number 4. Is your spouse your number one? This topic is a very tough topic for me, and I'm going to do my best to get through this podcast without tears. So this has been a topic of conversation for me this past year. There's been several things that came to light or just made this a focus for me. So a little over a year ago, my family and I had just gotten home from an amazing spring break trip to Gatlinburg. It's very touristy, but if you've never been, go. We did have a lot of fun. And we were home from our trip, unpacking, unwinding. My daughter had to get to volleyball practice. So my son offered to take her. He had one of his best friends with him. So they all hopped in the truck and off they went. My husband was in the garage unpacking the truck and doing stuff. The littles were sleeping. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just going to sit down on the couch for a few minutes and just relax, right? Before chaos begins again. No sooner did I sit down and close my eyes, did my phone ring. And I don't know if you want to call it motherly instinct or just this gut feeling that I had, but my heart was in my throat. My stomach was in knots before I'd even looked at my phone. So when I looked down and saw my son's name, my heart sank. It was instantaneously, I knew something terrible had happened. And I answered the phone and it was awful. As a parent, it is the phone call that you hope that you never get. He was hysterical. Mama, I flipped the truck. I totaled the truck, like just sheer panic. So I sheer panicked, like, are you okay? Is your friend okay? Where's your sister? He's like, no, I just dropped her off. She's fine. And he's scrambling. I immediately flipped the phone to FaceTime because I flipped it to FaceTime as I'm running to the garage to get my husband's attention. And he's standing there. The truck is on its side, tangled in a bunch of trees. And his friend is standing there in shock. And all I could do was thank God. Like, thank God that these boys were okay. Like, I owe you one, right? Like, looking at this truck, these kids should not have survived this. So I get my husband. I'm so sorry. I get my husband. I tell him where he's at, what had happened. He jumps in the truck and off he goes. Oh, sorry. So a little while later, they pulled in the driveway. The truck is on a tow bed, and they get out of his friend's father showed up as well and had the boys, and my husband, followed the tow truck, and the boys get out of the truck, and just looking at them, they're just ghosts. And then when I see the truck, they shouldn't have survived. They should not have survived. He definitely has an angel looking out for him, several, but they shouldn't have survived. So my anxiety increased right at the sight of the truck and their faces. We give these children vehicles. We teach them how to drive. We tell them to be safe, and off they go. And we just take for granted that they come home every day. I'm lucky. Mine came home. His friend came home. Other than the total truck, there was not a single scratch on them. Not a single scratch. Other families haven't been so lucky. I know that. So I thank God every day for looking out for him and his friend. But so now came the tough part. How do we parent him? How do we teach him? Learn a lesson from this. And, the problem here in my house was my husband and I didn't see eye to eye on this. We did not agree on how he should be punished, how we get him to learn from his mistake. So let's fast forward 3 or 4 months to Mel reflecting on life. And I'm listening to a podcast one day, and this pastor is talking about marriages and the, children in marriages. And so he goes on and he says, so if a spouse is choosing, if a spouse is making his other spouse a priority, and the other spouse is making the children a priority, how do you think that this spouse feels? Or if both of them are choosing other things, right? Whether it's your job, friends, whatever it may be. How are you guys ever going to be on the same page? How are you guys going to come together as one if you are not choosing each other over all the chaos in life? How are you guys going to be a solid unit to get through things that happen in life? Parenting, illnesses, loss of jobs, whatever it may be. And I stopped it. I replayed it several times. And all I could think of was, we failed. We failed each other in our marriage. And not more importantly, but more importantly, we failed our son. Because we couldn't come together as one and parent him and help him through the biggest heartbreak or the biggest obstacle that this 17-year-old boy had faced so far. Actually, he was 16 at the time, 16 and a half. And we failed him. We failed each other. And we failed him. And it was eye-opening for me. This was a very eye-opening moment. Your spouse has to always come first, friends. They have to for so many different reasons. But more importantly, they have to know that they are priority to you, right? You are a priority, they're a priority. You guys are one solid unit. And I've been doing it wrong for 17 years. I was making my children a priority, right? They didn't ask to be here. We brought them into this world. I should do everything in my power to give them a better life. I didn't have a bad life, but give them a better life. Give them all these opportunities so they can go be amazing people. And I wasn't doing it together with my spouse. But what do you have, right? If you are raising children separately and your spouse is over here doing something, or you're just not on the same page, when you raise these children and they leave your house and they go off and they get jobs and they get married, have a family of your own, or just let's back up, when they leave the house, right? And you've not made your marriage a priority. You've not made your spouse a number one in your life. And you now have an empty nest. What do you have left? What's left of your marriage? It's a marriage you honestly don't know, because you don't know the person, right? Because you spent so much time raising children or focusing on a career. This is just a children-based episode. Here are just a couple of things that, after doing some thinking and searching and reflecting, things that can help you and your spouse, right? So do date nights. Go away from the house. Go away from the children. Communicate, talk about all the things. Yes, talk about your children, right? Make sure we're all on the same page of what's going on in each one of their lives. We have 4, so there's a lot that happens. But don't just talk about the children. Talk about other things. Talk about what they've been doing, their hobbies, their fun, all the things. Number 2, this is a big one. Make parenting decisions together, right? We're so quick to be like, oh, ask your dad, go ask your mom. Or if you've got a blended family, right? That's hard, because, if there are children that aren't technically the spouse's children, and you don't allow the spouse to be a parent to these children, they're not going to respect that spouse. So you have to come together and parent together. Big decisions, small decisions. I get that sometimes on a whim, they're like, hey, I want to go do, and you're like, no, you can't do that. Or, okay, that's fine, right? But big decisions come together so they see, hey, look, that's great. Let me talk to your father. Let me talk to your mother. We'll get back to you on this, and we'll let you know if we're going to allow you to go, or your punishment, or whatever that may be. Number 3, I find this one to be the most important. If you fight in front of your children, and don't roll your eyes at me, I know it happens. We don't like to do it, but every once in a while we do. Whether it's a big argument or a little argument, if you fight in front of them and they see it, make up in front of them, right? Show them, look, life is not perfect. We did have an argument, a disagreement, but we came to a resolution of the disagreement, and show them that you guys are a united front. That's what this is about, right? Like, you and your spouse have to be on the same page as united front to teach these children that is the importance. Respect your spouse. Respect your spouse. Don't disrespect that person in front of children, in front of anybody, but honestly, especially in front of your children. If you do it, they're going to think that they're allowed to do it as well, right? If you make catty jokes over and over and over and it offends your husband, and that's not respectful, or vice versa, right? It's not just about love. It's also about respect. They need to see the whole package. These children, we need to teach them this. So when they grow up and get married and have families of their own, they are doing this. They are treating their spouse with love and respect and communicating and being on a page so they can raise their children, and so on and so on and so on. Maintain boundaries. I'm really bad at this one. My older two are grown, and I tend to overshare, or there's adult problems or adult conversations are not children's problems and children's conversations. They shouldn't be allowed to sit around when adults are talking about adult things and listen. It doesn't involve them. Let them be children. Maintain their innocence for as long as possible, right? Life is short. They grow up so quickly, and let them be innocent. Let them be children. So in short, right, if you're showing these children that the relationship is strong, the family is strong, the foundation is solid, it shows them what a good marriage is. And it's not going to be perfect, right? But if they can see that we are a united front, that's going to be comforting for them. They're going to understand, right? Mom and dad, he comes first, she comes first. And then you guys. So that's a lot. It's intense. And I will tell you, this is the only podcast that I have recorded several times. One, I couldn't get through the first one without just sobbing hysterically. And I'm an ugly crier. So it's just, but I could sit here and talk for forever on this topic. And I think it's because it's something so near and dear to my heart. And it's taken me a long time to realize it. So make sure your spouse is your number one, or your partner is your number one, right? You can't do it by yourself. You guys have to be a united front. So I hope this touches you the way it touches me, because I said, when I first heard this several months ago at this point, I was just mind blown. I put it in the list of things Mel does wrong. But I'm fixing it. I'm correcting it. Anyways, so that's all I got. And I hope you guys tune in next week. I have a special guest coming next week. You won't want to miss it. XOXO.